Hey everyone, welcome back to Locked In. Tonight we're going to shift to yet another team. I think this is a team chance that we might not have even said much about. We're going to shift our view to Texas for a minute. And we're going to talk about one of their biggest transfers that they added over the winter, and that's Isaiah Bond, former wide receiver at Alabama. And I think Bond's going to help them out. He's a good ball player, and I think that he ought to bring some exciting stuff, especially his ability just pick up yards and extend plays. That's going to be something I think that really helps Texas's offense out next year. And that they're looking to make a push, and I think that Bond's going to be a guy that maybe can help them to get over that hump and maybe make the championship next year. Who knows? Before we jump in, just want to say we appreciate everybody who has subscribed to the channel lately. We're growing ever closer to that 500 subscriber mark. And we thank you for subscribing. We thank you for following us as much as you have, because it's really been pretty good talking ball with you. And we want to encourage those people out there, who have been, frequent visitors to go ahead and subscribe, help us out. There's a lot of you that are, that check us out and who haven't subscribed. If you will, just, hit the subscribe button and help some poor old boys out, here talking college football. With that being said, Chance, let's jump into Isaiah Bond. I know that you've been able to see him, in living color as you were an attendee at the SEC championship game, and he sure as heck played a big role in that game for the Tide.
Yeah, I know most people know him for that one catch against Auburn to, win the game in overtime, but I don't think that one play really defines him well at all. If you when we go through this, I'll just start playing it, but you'll see a major difference between, what he did in that Auburn game in the Iron Bowl compared to what he does on a regular basis, which is, stay underneath. And, he catches that right there 2 yards behind the sticks. And what does he do? Well, he gets 22 yards out of it. So he gets 12 extra yards after a reception. I mean, same thing right here, just a little drag. He settles. It's not like he's, not playing ball. Like he's settling in open space. That's one thing you could also point out about him, the ability to get yards after a catch and the ability to settle. Because, I mean, look who is around him. I mean, there's absolutely
Nobody.
nobody around him. So, I
Right.
mean, if he runs up the field, you're going to get this defender who's turning around because, the quarterback's running and he's turning around to see it and he's running upfield. That's not going to be a good outcome for this play. So, what he does is he settles in that open space and it gives him a chance to make a play, get a first down and about 12 yards.
Well, what I like about that play right there is if you take it back to 2nd and 1. Okay, so you're 2nd and 1, 50-yard line basically. The thing that really I think that you're thinking, if you're a defense, or that I believe you're thinking as a defense, is 2nd and 1 midfield, they are going to take a shot. Because why wouldn't you? And I think that that's one of the things that Georgia is really concerned with right here is, yeah, you're going to have something underneath. You're going to have intermediate probably, but you are also going to have somebody downfield, because I think that that's a spot where you try to take a shot. And if they could get the touchdown right here, you beat them deep, it's 27-12, and this thing's going to become a nightmare pretty quick for Georgia in the fourth quarter. Well, whenever you look at where Bond's at, Bond is a playmaker, and you expect that guy to be downfield, but when he settles there, look where he's at. He's right there to get the first down, and what has every soul on the Georgia defense completely forgotten about? That it's 2nd and 1, and all they needs a yard. So Bond just settles there. First, he gets the first down, then he picks up everything after that that he possibly can. To me, you could say, well, that's a design. Maybe, maybe not. But what I do know that it is that is a hyper aware football player who knew how to make the most out of where he was at on the field. Very low percentage to chunk one deep, even though it feels good. And you're going to try it whenever you got a shot, I think. But the thing of it is that whenever you're in that spot, that 2nd and 1, if you can get it to a very aware receiver who can extend a play, you're going to get a big gain, just like they got right there. So, good for Texas for picking up a guy, who can do that kind of thing for them.
Yeah, because what you saw from Texas this year was a lot of explosive receivers down the field. Now, one
Mm-hmm.
thing I like here is, his ability to see the quarterback get in trouble and to come back to the ball. Because I know I think of it this way. I know Noah Walk does as well. We'll see it from a different angle here, but this was a game-defining play right here. I
Yeah,
mean,
it was.
he's lined up at running back, so I mean, you can see him right there. He's just running like a Texas route across the middle. And then he's looking back at his quarterback. He sees his quarterback in trouble. Now, if he kept running, is he going to be open? Well, yeah, there's nobody right here. Well, his other receiver does that. His other receiver says, "Hey, throw me the ball." I mean, no offense, but we all know how Jalen Milroe is. I mean, kind of offense, but I mean, it is what it is. He's not going to be able to
Hmm.
make that throw. So he steps up in the pocket, and you know what Isaiah Bond does? Is he reverses his trajectory and he cuts back across the field. And you know what? A lot of green grass right in there where he's running,
Yep.
right
And I
underneath.
go ahead.
Oh, and I was gonna say, and the only defender that could really get to him is playing Jalen Milroe, and the only other one is over here on the other Alabama receiver. So I mean, there's nobody else
Mhm.
feasible that could, tackle this guy, and that's why it gets him a first down and a lot of yards after.
I think on that one too, because I agree with you. I mean, that was the one right there. I think that Alabama, their offense works best whenever they have that receiver who is just a wild card. I mean, I think that if they've got that, if they have a guy like, I mean, and I don't know how to look now, with Kalen DeBoer, but under Saban, you expected Alabama to really grind it out with the run, and they were going to have good play action, and then really, as time went on with in the Kiffin years and beyond, they had a really good spread passing attack too. But one of the things that I think that made them really their best is whenever they had a receiver like Bond who could just create absolute havoc underneath because you're worried about the run game, you're worried about the deep throw, but when you got that guy who can play the middle of the field and can absolutely burn it, I think that was a dynamic to their offense that made them a lot better. And I mean, this play as soon as it happened, I thought, God, boy, they've got him. They've got him with that one right there. And I think that the thing you can say too, to go back to Milroe's or not Milroe, but excuse me, to Bond's awareness is like what you said. Regardless of what you want to say about Jalen Milroe, I think that what that Isaiah Bond does right here, it shows you that he is very aware of what Milroe is going to do with the football. He knows that he's not going to throw it, to that guy who is, just outside of where Bond was on the field. And Milroe's going to try to buy time with his feet. He's going to try to push forward in the pocket. And if he can come back and meet him, like you said, that linebacker must go up and try to tackle Milroe because it's like having a running back, with the ability to throw. And so when you see Bond come down for that, it shows like whereas the first play I talked about shows him having high awareness in terms of positioning himself on a field situationally. This shows him once again positioning himself situationally in terms of what is actually happening in front of him. And he knows his quarterback. He knows what his quarterback wants, and he gets right there in front of him. And he makes the best of the situation. And honestly, right there, I think that's the play that killed Georgia.
Yeah, and I'd have to agree with you as a, sad Georgia fan. And I mean, it's kind of what they did all night, just hit him underneath and let him go and get yards. I mean, he's negative 3 yards right here where he catches the ball. And
Where did he
he
come?
turns.
Roll that back just a second. Where did he come from? Do we have the whole
Oh,
play that one?
yeah, yeah, yeah. He was in a trips bunch, I'm pretty sure, on the
To the
right.
to the right
And
side.
yeah, and then they
So he
had
goes,
Jermaine Burton motion over, to,
yeah.
get Georgia thinking about that motion. They roll over and have number 6 on him, man, I think, and he just gets lost underneath because that corner is supposed to be on him.
Yeah, go ahead and roll that. I want to see what he does right here.
He gets pushed because, anything that crosses your face as a linebacker, hit it, take it out of the play, throw him off the path. And, CJ Allen throws him off the path, catches it 1, 2, 3, 4 yards in the backfield.
Well, that was the thing I wanted to see with that one is what it reminds me of is it's like a I'm sure this is not how you intend to draw this up. And maybe I'm wrong, but I do know that back a few seasons. This is back when Lincoln Riley was at Oklahoma. I couldn't tell you exactly which year it was, but it's been a little bit now. They used to run that. They would release the line on a screen, like say like how this was. They would release the line, the left side of the line to go block like a true screen, and they would run the mesh like a just a shallow drag route, and then dip behind the line of scrimmage so you could release the lineman. What I find interesting about this is that he runs the same pattern. Like he doesn't miss a beat. Like I mean, he gets knocked off his route, so he just dips back, becomes essentially a running back, or you could say like a number two receiver outside bubbling out for a screen pass, and he creates space for himself. So that's one of those things too that I think is interesting about seeing him play here. It's not just that he knows how to like I guess take advantage of space. Lots of people can take advantage. He can create space, and he can and right there he created space out of a terrible situation for a wide receiver because a lot of people when they got get knocked off course they're just going to kind of stop. I mean they're out of the play, and they might try to find the football, but I mean it's like by God he goes over here and creates an entirely new play out of the mess that the defender made, and the defender did a good job. So what do you do whenever you got a guy like that playing underneath? I mean, there's really not much of an answer, and Georgia didn't have one for him.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing they could do is, run man a lot more, make sure somebody's underneath on him while like a linebacker. But I mean, even with a linebacker, you have to be fast enough to cover him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a challenge. I mean, he's fast.
Yeah, because I mean, he's a slot player. He's very quick and explosive. You can see him a lot in Michigan. I know Michigan they lost, but Michigan I think had the best defense in all of college football last year. I know Locke probably agrees. So does Rev, even though he ain't here. So Michigan was dang good, especially in their secondary. So I mean, it says something when he's getting open against Michigan. And you know what? It's not like he's that open, but he makes a very, very good catch and he doesn't even get touched, just going right over top of that cover two right there in between the safety and that corner, Will Johnson. So I mean, them are two of the best players on the team, with Will Johnson, and I don't know who the safety is, but I know he's one of the best players. I know that might be Keon Sabb who's going to Alabama this year. But I mean, them are two of the best players on that team. I mean, it's just something to catch that right in between two of them on a cover two.
I think too. I mean, that's a good throw. I think it's a really good throw
Yeah, I mean, it's a
to
little
get that ball
behind,
to him.
but
Yeah, but nevertheless, I mean that's a fine throw. I think that Milrow rips off, and and I think that that goes to show you. I mean, he can throw the ball, and he trusts this guy, and I
yeah,
think that that's one of the things that hurts you more than anything is that when you have got a receiver like this that a quarterback has this kind of connection with, and who as we saw with the Georgia with the little the I guess the
the
little
flick.
comeback to the quarterback when you lose somebody who when they understand each other that well, I think that it's pretty painful. I don't see how Alabama replaces him easily. Now I'm sure that there are players down there that they could put out. I'm sure that the Alabama crowd could say, "Hey, well, this is the guy we're going to roll in his spot," and I understand that. That you just you reload, you don't worry about it, you move forward. But at the same time, this is a big loss. I mean, it's a really big loss because, like you said, I mean, that's as fine a secondary as you're going to see, and that's really as fine a catch as you're going to see. Because I mean, he flat out won that ball right here. I mean, that's all you can say.
Yeah, so make great sideline catch as well. Um,
Because their philosophy, like if you watch who is it, number three? Is that number three? Is that what it says?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's Keon
Um,
Sabb, I'm pretty sure, and he's very good.
but the thing I think with this one that you see too is something we've talked so much about the Michigan defense is that whenever they play like the linebackers and corners kind of in that like basically just shallow intermediate area, they start backing up, and what they're trying to do. I mean, I think that they work to constrict space between the safety level and then the intermediate level. And I mean, they worked according to plan right here because if you look, I mean, space really closes in between between Johnson and the safety, and still they wouldn't get it. I mean, I promise you they wouldn't get it.
Yeah, no, that's a great catch right there, especially being pushed out of bounds, already having hands on you.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do much right here, but I think that's also to be said. That's a different type of tackle right there, getting them a little high. Debatable, face mask, horse collar call right there instead of getting
Mhm.
them low. So I mean, you know, doesn't really get it right there, but it's a different team, different style play. So I
Yeah.
mean, has the ability to, just doesn't right there, and that's what I'd say about that. Um, but here, you know, we'll go through it where you get a better angle on it. He does kinda, try to make a play here. I just don't think there's a play to be made. I think this was a terrible call. There's nothing really here. I don't think this is his fault. I don't think most of the Michigan plays were his fault because I mean, what are you supposed to do with a ball like this here at this position? I mean, where are you going to go? Michigan's defense is just that good, and I mean it's an uncatchable ball. So if somebody's out there from Texas, especially saying, "Well, he didn't look very good at all against Michigan," I mean, there's a reason besides play calling and Jalen Milrow. He didn't really have much space to catch balls, just the way they sculpted their defense. But when he had opportunities, he did make good gains.
Mhm. Yeah, just like right here, he turns that one into a nice gain. He took what he had. And,
Yeah, I
that's one
mean,
of those things that I find like whenever, like talking about that, there are a lot of people I think still yet that somehow just they don't think. I mean, that's like, my neck of the woods down here. Uh, they just don't think that Michigan was that good. And I mean, I hate to break it to people, Michigan was freaking good. That was as good of a defense as you were ever going to see. In terms of like schematics. Now, maybe there are teams that have bigger stars. I mean, Michigan had its stars, but I mean, yeah, I mean, there's some big names that you'll see on defenses. But in terms of scheme and in terms of players to execute the scheme, good lord, I mean, Texas Longhorns that have got smoked. That's all you could say, man. I mean, they'd have been brisket by the time Michigan got through with them. So I mean, you really can't complain about what the Isaiah Bond did. What you do, if you have questions like that, just say thank God we got a good underneath receiver because I mean this dude's going to help. He's going to help Ewers out big time because Ewers is the kind of guy who I think can take advantage of.
yeah, I would say run plays that'll help you out, not just, something that's going against whatever coverage they're giving you. Because, I mean, this guy settles very well in space.
Yep.
And he's ready to catch the
And
ball and he can
and I
get
mean
forward.
and there is no coverage made for that.
No.
If you have a receiver who has just an innate ability to settle in a spot, that's hard to do whenever you're going full on. And Bond has, I mean, just really, I mean, just an interesting talent for that. He can find the spot, get their top speed, and then feel the defense and say, okay, it's time to settle. And then he turns around, and even though he's not the biggest guy in the world, like what you said, I mean, this right here, if he can turn that little hitch route into all those extra yards. And I mean, and that might not, you might think, well, that's not like, 20, 30 yard gain. He doesn't break it. He picks up about an extra 4 yards against a dang good defense off of a little hitch route. He found the vacant spot and quarterback got the ball to him, picks up the yards. That's how you move the ball down the field. I mean, that's exactly what you do when you're playing a good defense. You find what they're going to give you, you take it, and whenever you have the opportunity to get an extra 3 or 4 yards, you get those 3 or 4 yards because those are the hidden yards that you need to advance the ball against a good defense. And that's what Bond brings to the table is he's going to keep you alive against a good team if you can find him.
Yeah, I mean, we've all heard the saying 3 yards in a cloud of dust, get 3 yards every time and break a few long ones to win the game. And, if you've ever watched any given Sunday, you hear football's a game of inches, every inch matters. And that's like every yard matters in the game, especially as important as one like with Michigan in a semifinal playoff spot. So if Texas, looks to be back in the playoffs, which I think they have a good chance at it, a little harder road in the SEC, but, I think they have a good chance at it. I think Isaiah Bond will help them tremendously to get there.
I think if you go back to what you were saying there about, like a game of inches and 3 yards in a cloud of dust, the football's changed a lot. And I know Michigan, one of the things that I heard various people talk about is that they seemed is like it was really old school how they played, and it was on offense. But the thing I think is you're never going to get away from that 3 yards in a cloud of dust. The thing of it is now is I think that where that the 3 yards are at is it's in that extended play because teams score so many points now. I mean, it's a rare day whenever you don't see, at least both sides, make it to 30 points. I mean, there are games where it doesn't happen, but for the most part, it's like you can almost anticipate that every football game is going to have a total score of 50 points. And it's the nature of the offenses they play. It's the nature of how that they allow offenses certain advantages in terms of rules and things of that nature. I mean, defenses are up against it right now, and that's why I've become like such a fan of defense. Is I really admire the defenses that have figured out how to stop or at least slow down these offenses. Because I was coaching a game here, I guess 2 years ago, and the guy who was running the defense was just he was beside himself. We won the game against a team that was way better than us, but we won the game because we managed to outlast them. And I told him, I said, here's the thing. It's like, you need to embrace the now. Like he is wanting to pitch a shutout. And I said, that ain't happening. Not against that team. It's like it's going to take an inferior opponent for us to, to be able to shut them out. For really most teams to shut people out, it takes an inferior opponent. So I said, you need to be thinking about this instead of like getting a shutout. Let's get enough stops to keep our offense ahead of the other side. And everybody, that's one of the things I think so funny is that you can learn something about that in a weird place. If anybody has played retro bowl, that's how you win a lot of times. Is it's figuring out like it's negotiating your possessions, it's figuring out how to get an extra possession, and and sometimes it seems like you might not be the best team, but if you can get the ball at the right time and you can keep them from getting it at the right time, you come out a winner. Well, same thing here. I think that whenever you're in a wide open world of spread offenses and people could be putting up 70 and 80 points in a particular ball game, every little bit that you can get that keeps the ball in your hands, even though most people aren't worried about time of possession, I think it helps you out. And I think that every first down you get helps you out. And whenever I look at Bond, that's really the thing that I appreciate, really just from what we've watched tonight, more than anything, is he understands the value of a first down. He understands the value of a positive plays. Like he doesn't have to be down the field catching a long one. Can he do it? Yeah, of course he can do it, but his skill set is really suited at making you live, to get another set of downs. Is his skill set is to make like an extra 5 yards whenever you didn't think those 5 yards were possible. Because what can end up happening is in a game where you need 60 points, to win. What if those 60 points are a field goal at a 5 yard stretch that he makes on the end of a little bit of a little like hitch route is the thing that puts you in position to kick the field goal. And so I think that that's really where like this game of inches comes down to is it's wide open. But when you boil it all down in a close ball game, somebody still is going to have to make a little play that's just a 3 or 4 yard extra gain that might be the thing that makes a difference in the whole thing. Because I guarantee you, just like what we said, that little comeback that he made off of that Texas route to help Milrow out right there. That was the one play that I think that, you could talk about a lot of other stuff. People could talk about, was it a catch play? Whatever. It all played out. And at the end of the day, Bond made an absolutely perfect play that was just a tiny adjustment based on knowing his quarterback. And look at what happened because of it. I think that's what Texas is getting, and I hope they can use him as well as Alabama did throughout this year, and especially in that SEC championship game.
Yeah, with all that being said, look to see Isaiah Bond, have a great career, finishing off at Texas, and we'll see what he can do this upcoming season. For all you out there watching, stay locked in.